Hi guys, it's Ray here from City Fan TV. Hope you guys are well. It's Sunday night, 9 o'clock on Sunday evening. Weekend has come and gone. Weekend's come and gone. And, well, I don't know what you guys have been up to. You know, it doesn't really feel like a weekend massively. But for my kids, it's going to be a weekend because they go back to school tomorrow, virtually. So they're not actually going to attend school, but it's I think they're going to have online classes. I'm not sure how it's going to work, whether they're going to have virtual classes using Zoom or whether it's going to be like it was before the official holidays, and it's going to be they're just going to be sent worksheets to do and complete them and send them back. So just wait to find out exactly what they're going to do. Hi, Aaron. Hope you're well. All days are the same. Absolutely. Hey, Matt. It's been a while. Hope you are well. Abdallah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm a bit tired. Today. Rough few days, but we. Hey, Mark. Nice to have you. Yeah, I love this. It's one of the tops that I bought for everybody. I got a top like this for me. I bought. This would have been going back to. Someone can tell me the year, like 2013, 14-ish. It's an Umbro top, so it has to be before Nike. Did Nike do the first one for City in 2015? I can't remember now. I bought one of these for myself, long sleeve. I bought one for my son, both my sons. Must have been at least, let me work my way back. Must have been season 20. Manuel Pellegrini must have been here, so it must have been 2013-14, because I'm sure we went. Could have been earlier. It's really trying to work it out. Sure, we had it for the League Cup final against Sunderland. Anyway, but I bought one for each of my lads. I bought one for my niece, my nephew. I was buying it for everybody because it was a really, really good one. It's a really class kit. I think it looks great. It feels really good. The quality's there. I used to play footy in this and other sports. The quality's definitely there. It's a really, really nice top. True Geordie. I don't miss the Eagle badge, Abdallah. Don't worry about it. We've actually gone back to, I won't say our roots, but we've gone back to what we had before the Eagle. True Geordie will be squirming. Yeah, look, it's just the way. Right, David, talking about the Newcastle United takeover again. Look, yeah, True Geordie will. And a few others who've slagged and slated Man City because we were easy for them to have a pop at. And now, Sheffield United have got Arab owners from Saudi Arabia, part owner. And then if Newcastle happens, football fans slating fans of other clubs for their owners, say it's not worth it. Some of the journalists are getting it in their neck, but they deserve it. People like Miguel Delaney. I will say his name, even though it's a dirty word. Barry Glendenning, another filthy name to throw out there. And there's a few others as well. It's James Corbett comes along, who's protected his tweets, but he's another idiot who's got, looks like, obviously, if you're protecting your tweets, maybe you got something to hide, mate. Who knows? He's another one who doesn't like people having a look at his publicly available information. Why is that? I wonder if he's got something to hide. Hey, Stormy, how you doing, mate? Hope you're well. Matt, they need to spend wisely. They'll look at Aston. Absolutely. City spend the money wisely. Well, it's not so straightforward, Adam. We've done it. We didn't always spend it wisely, and we still don't get it right every time. There are still players who come and they don't fit in for whatever reason. You can see that picture up there. In 2016, Sergio Aguero scored his 100th Premier League goal. City drew 1-1 at Newcastle, and he reached that landmark after just 147 games. And obviously, he was I never thought he was going to get to Shearer's record, really. He needs another 3 or 4 seasons for that. But I thought, he's going to get past everybody else. He's going to beat everybody else. But obviously losing probably 10 games, he'd have played 8, 9, or all 10 of those games in some way, shape, or form. He's missed out on, who knows how many goals he's missed out. And he could have missed out on between 5 and 10 goals this season. So, look, there you go, Matt. Bony, Mangala. I didn't think Mangala was that bad, but he lost his confidence. And once you lose your confidence, sometimes it's very hard to get it back. And then he just couldn't control the ball. Couldn't pass the ball, control it. It's just not very good. We were the last team to spend big. Can happen. Well, you see, Mark, we'll talk about it. So let's look at Aguero. So look at his goals, okay? Aguero has the best ever minutes per goal ratio in the Premier League. If you say the minimum of 30 goals, he's got 100 goals, or when he got the 100 goals, in 107.5 minutes. I think he's actually got better in terms of minutes since then. He's miles ahead. Look at that, miles ahead of everybody else. They're not even in the same ballpark. And look, he scored at those 100 goals, 7 with his head, 13 penalties, 19 with his left foot, 74 with his right foot. Fantastic. Hi, Muppet, up you're well. So look, let's talk about FFP. I mean, because, if you weren't here last night, then I'll repeat it. If a club gets new owners, apparently they're allowed to overspend for, I think, 4 years, as long as they can show that they're getting back to break even. So we went through this yesterday. I mean, without delving into all the detail, maybe Newcastle can throw out a £200 million loss in the first season, 100 million in the second, 50 in the third, and by the fourth season, fourth set of accounts, break even. That way, they're already spending money. I mean, they got Joel Linton for 40 million. They got the Max. I forgot his name. It's not Max. His name's not Max. Saint Maxim. They got him. They got a few players, so they must have spent a bit of money this summer, last summer. So if they can have let's say they spend 100 million, that's their budget to spend. So maybe they can overspend by 200, so spend 300, lose 200, but they can show the progress the following season. It's down to 100 loss. Following season, 50. That way they can overspend. So UEFA are allowed that. And as I said before, there's going to be some leeway. There has to be this season some leeway. Just because it's not going to happen. Hi, Catherine, I hope you're well. So, Abdallah, there's no choice. I went through it yesterday. Clubs are, you look at someone like Spurs, they could lose 20 million quid, maybe 30 or 40 million. If they lose the money from the TV money, okay, I have no idea what that would be. But let's say it's worth 30 million. I thought that sounds reasonable. Let's say they lose 20 million from gate receipts and match day income, not just gate receipts, food and drink, sponsorship of programs, that's a big earner as well, and around the ground. Let's say Spurs lose 50 million, or they miss out on earning 50 million. Their expenses haven't really dropped that much because they're still paying their staff, they're still paying their players, and they're still I think they're still paying stewards and stuff like that for the rest of the season. So Spurs could basically be 50 million quid out of pocket. Now, most clubs, they might save a little bit for a rainy day, but they're certainly not saving 50 million for a rainy day. As you can see by the profits that clubs throw out. City threw out a 10 million profit last season, I think, and most of that is because of player sales. If it wasn't for player sales, we wouldn't have balanced the books. So a lot of clubs are in a similar boat, and Spurs missing out on 50 million. Any team missing out on 30 million, that might make the difference between passing FFP and failing. Now, FFP is a rolling thing that's over 3 years. So if you're making profits for 2 years and you make a £30 million loss this season, you might be able to actually fulfill the requirements. Very good. But if you're on the breadline and you're making, break even, and then you lose 50 million, you're gonna end up in Europe. Let's have a look what your comments are. Newcastle are follow-on players. Might want to make them permanent. Absolutely, if they think they're good enough. Newcastle United is looking to bring Saudi chairman like Khalid. that's what you need, is a kind of a man in between the two, you know. So, but I mean, Khaldoon has shown his mettle. He's shown his strength. He's a good talker. Must be a shrewd businessman to be in the position he's in, not just at City, but at Mubadala Investments. Newcastle, let's have a look. What do you think about games behind? No, I'm not interested in that. Games behind closed doors. I've never liked them. Occasionally when we've had them in the Champions League or something else, never liked the games behind closed doors. I hate the atmosphere. It doesn't really do that much for me. I've watched a couple, but it doesn't do much for me. I can't believe Newcastle get 30 million for Perez. Great bit, absolutely muppet. He's not a bad player, but it's just the way the market was. They'll have to build a pairing, but look, I still think they can spend two or 300 million quid, no problem. Hi Zidane, hope you're well. So my point was, can City spend money this summer? Just because we got Rich Jones FFP will be a problem. You know, City, whereas we're lucky in as much that the sponsors, Etihad, will still give us our money. Puma will still give us the money they're going to give us. Other clubs might have an issue with getting the money from their sponsors. Some of the sponsors might not be too chuffed that then, you know, they're not getting their money's worth. So they might try and hold it a little bit back. And then City are going to lose a bit of money from the gates and the TV money. So City could be at 50 million quid. There's no way we're going to make. I take that back. I thought we'd have been close to having good numbers because our income's still going up. It was going up. Put all this to one side. We had the money from the Puma deal that would have come through. We had the new Nissan deal that would have come through. So we had money coming through from other sources. So I would have hoped would have made about an extra 40 million out of other sources. Obviously, the Champions League, if that doesn't happen, we're losing out there. So City, because of the Champions League, we're losing out on the Champions League money, which even you expect to get through against Madrid, and you got another home game. Even if you got knocked out, a bit of prize money, a bit of match day. Let's say it's 10 million quid. Okay, so we City could be losing out 60, 70 million quid a year, which will be compensated for by the money coming in, extra money from, I think, Nissan and Puma. But that kind of takes away some of our spending power for the summer, because we're going to have to look at what's going to happen in the next round of TV rights. No one knows. It could collapse. I don't think so, but it could drop. So that's going to cause problems for teams. So City may have the money to pump in if they want to. It all really depends what what UEFA say. If UEFA say there's no FFP this year, now that's going to light up the ears of certain. Leicester, they've got rich owners; they can pump money in. Wolves, if UEFA say for 1 year there's no FFP for this next transfer window, wow! I don't think that's going to happen. They might say for this accounting period, but you can't go stupid in the transfer window. You can't use this as an excuse. But we'll accept your losses for non-transfer activity. That's probably the way to go. So I don't think it's going to be dead, Aaron. I think that City might be have a little bit of scope, but the transfer market doesn't necessarily have to be dead, because it all depends what UEFA say and FIFA. Because FIFA kind of control the transfers. But it depends what UEFA say about FFP. If UEFA say, okay, this season you can have £100 million loss on FFP and we'll let it ride, some clubs will look at that and say, well, we can buy an extra couple of players. Why not? Wolves might look at it and say, we'll get that so and so for 60 million. We'll do that. And teams could if they've got the owners who will put the money in, maybe someone will just do that and say, well, look, we can have we were going to break even. Now we're going to have about, let's say, a £20 million loss or £30 million loss. But UEFA say we can have 100. We've got a bit of leeway there to pump a bit of money in and go for broke. You never know. We got Cancelo on a bit of a swap with Danilo going the other way and a bit of money. Maybe we get rid of somebody in a similar fashion and get somebody else in. You never know. Adam, they want games to be played. It's TV money. Yeah, it's all about money at the end of the day. Look, two reasons. One, they're a business and they need to, make money, otherwise they've got a problem. But so you can understand it from that point of view. But right now, to keep on, to keep on meeting and talking about it, besides it being boring, I think it's in bad taste to keep doing it. The best thing is to just say, let's leave it for a month and come back and discuss, rather than every 2 weeks. Leave it for a month, or leave it until the government say, give us a date for ending of quarantine of the lockdown. Then we can start, because government won't. I suspect the government aren't going to say to you, have a press conference, say, hey, tomorrow lockdown's over. I think they'll give us at least 2 or 3 weeks warning, and then the Premier League can start planning. So I think that's what's going to happen. Not everybody's not going to be skin Aaron. It's not going to be as simple as that. Are we in the market for a Cat A player? I'd hope we are still in for 1 or 2 Cat A players. If Skriniar's available, Upamecano, Skriniar. Did I say that? Skriniar, Upamecano, Diaz, Koulibaly. Anybody who's out there, we should be in for them. Not seen that, Edward. I did see something in the MEM. I saw the headline that they got somebody, but wasn't Cancelo supposed to replace Walker? I'll believe it when I see it. Abdallah, the government prioritising will prioritise vaccines to public before athletes and footballers. Well, there you go. The government are in a very tough spot because they've really balls this up, the way they've dealt with this. And I think if they get it wrong on the releasing the lockdown, if they've not got things in place, we could see, a few 20,000 people more dying. So we just can't take, and they can't take that risk, because politically, it's really, really bad for them. I read somewhere that Barcelona will potentially losing 30 million for tickets. Well, there you go, Matt. I mean, if Barcelona lose, look at Spurs. Spurs ground is a 62,000 seater stadium. Now, if they have to give money back to their season card holders, that's going to hurt. And I have no idea, without checking, what they're charging for tickets. But let's say they've got 40,000 season card holders and 20. For ease of maths, 20,000 others. Okay, if they're charging 8, let's say an average 80 quid, that's 1.6 million. Now, there's going to be a lot of the hospitality and other stuff, bits and pieces, and sponsorship and advertising around the ground, sponsorship in or advertising in the program. So that might be worth another £1 million. I have no idea. They're supposedly getting 800 grand income just from their restaurants alone. So they could be losing an absolute arm and a leg. So yeah, I mean, if Real Madrid have got 6 games to go and they're getting about €5 million per game, it's €30 million. So Mando was Cancelo. Well, if Cancelo's not happy, move him on. Martinez. If we're not going to, one of the issues is that we don't know what the prices are going to be. So prices might be just totally out of it now. They might just collapse the price for one season. Zidane wants Upamecano. Nasri's in trouble with Anderlecht for travelling to Dubai. Reminds me, forget about Nasri. He just makes mistakes. It's really sad because the guy was class, and I was so disappointed that he didn't stick it out when Pep came, because Nasri was a quality player. He's only 32 now. He was a quality player. You got to look back at some of his performances. You think, wow, in a Pep team, wow, he could have been fantastic. Sadly, he didn't have the stomach for a fight. Ottoman and Stones, I can't see both of them going air, and I can see one, but not both. Abdallah says City, Newcastle, Leicester, Chelsea, Wolves, and Everton will be the biggest spenders. They have the money. Well, the owners have the money, so if they're allowed to, pump in extra money, it's not just that you got the money. You got to. It depends what the FFP rules are. I think most of the transfers will be swap deals due to the heavy losses of money, quite potentially, right? Ship Aguero, nah, it's not happening, Aaron. It's not happening. Not too much, but it's in the headline. Aguero's still a class player. For me, he's not as good as he used to be. He hasn't got He's still got some explosive pace, but it's not. He's not as, I think, as quick off the mark as he used to be, and he can't sustain that burst like he used to. Now, seeing him bursting away from players and staying ahead of them, but this season he's burst away to start with, and then people catch him up very quickly. So he's just not got. He's getting on. He's 31 years old, so his pace is declining. He's still got a lot of goals. I mean, we're the team that create a lot of chances, so he's going to keep scoring a lot of goals. But look, he's our record goal scorer. He got that record against when we played against Napoli. Was it last season? Season before? But that's when he got the record. He waltzed past Eric Brooks' record, previous record, and he was on for me to finish second in terms of Premier League goals by the time he'd finished, and I couldn't see him staying another 3 seasons to try and catch Shearer. I thought next season he's dying to stay here. He might stay for another season, but I wasn't even so sure about that. Muppet, are you asking me politics or just geopolitical questions? Why are the UK government taking so long to obtain PPE and ventilators? PPE, everybody wants it. Okay, that's one issue. Everybody wants it. They started the orders, I think, too late, and now everybody wants it. And people are prioritising. And also they've got issues where they could apparently get some PPE made in this country, and they're just choosing not to take those offers up. For whatever reason, I believe the reasons are political rather than anything else. They might have somebody who's a potential supplier who's not on their suppliers list, but they've got to sort it out. And if they can get Dyson on their suppliers list, then surely they can get a small company that might be making 5,000 face masks a week or something, or gowns, something like that to help, rather than get people who are not even in that business. You get somebody who's already doing it rather than get somebody who's not doing it. The ventilators, that's an absolute fiasco. You had the option to get current UK manufacturers of ventilators to make them. The government chose not to do that. They chose to go down the route of getting companies with a lot of expertise, like Formula One companies in engineering and stuff. But they wanted them to make new designs of ventilators. Apparently, if you read the report in the paper, was it yesterday, the brief wasn't right. They were telling them to make the ventilators to last about 7 hours, up to 24 hours at a push. Where actually they needed the ventilators for about 3 or 4 days on a patient. So there were problems with the ventilators, problem with the brief, problem with the design. They weren't getting approved. They weren't what we needed, and you end up, the Red Bull Renault one, is that, do they do one together? That I think we're called Blue Sky. They've stopped now because they didn't get the approval. They weren't good enough and they weren't suitable. It's absolute mess. Waste of time, waste of effort, waste of money. So it's like everything else there's been. So that's it. If you start late, you're behind the 8 ball, and we're behind the 8 ball. Adam, would you have the starting wingers for next season? Well, Bernardo, I'd have him in the middle. Next season, I'd start with Sterling and Mahrez, and let's see how they do. Let's see if Sterling can pull his finger out and get back to what he was at the start of this season and what he's been for the last 2 seasons. I'm not sure we'd keep. No, I'm not sure Zidane. Aguero's not, for me, he's not going to last. He's not going to last another 3 years. I can't see it. Honestly, next summer, I think. Zidane, I'm not sure. If Real Madrid come and offer us 200 million, I think he'll go. Personally, I think there's a good chance he'll go. Simply because it's a great opportunity, and 200 million quid for what he did last season, I'd bite their hands off. And it can make a big difference. If money's tight, we could go out and buy 3 players with that. You know how it works. It's not as simple as that, but you know what I mean. Abdallah, I think the Prem and the UEFA will end the season as it is. Titles given out, I don't think so. I think they're all desperate. Saw Ian Bishop's ideas for how to finish the season, and he said ages ago, if you stop the season You can't just stop it as it is because it's unfair on certain teams. I accept that. So you stop the season, you give Liverpool the title, City and Leicester qualify for the Champions League, and Chelsea qualify for the Champions League. United and who's after United? United and Sheffield United, Man United and Sheffield United have a playoff for the Europa League spot because Sheffield United, have got a game in hand. They could leapfrog United into 5th, so they fight for that. And he also said if City are barred from the Champions League, then whoever wins that game gets the Champions League spot, and whoever loses gets the Europa League spot. So that's quite reasonable. So that's what. And then the relegation is just the relegation. You have basically 3 playoff games, whether they're at home and away. Let's say 3 playoff games between the bottom 6, and that's it. And you decide that's one way of doing it. And the teams that come up from the Championship, Leeds come up, West Brom come up, and then he reckons you have the playoffs between the next 4 teams. Problem with that is Fulham can say, well, hang on, we're only 6 points behind West Brom with 9 games to go. We could make it. And then you've got all the teams who are in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th and say, hang on, we're 1 point behind. Preston have got 56 and Millwall, I think, have got 55 and someone else has got 55 and someone else has got 54, 53, 53. It's 4 or 5 teams who are within 3 points of 6 and they say, hang on. If you stop the season now, you're taking away our chance of making the playoffs because Preston have had a terrible run of form. I think they've got 2 points out of the last 5 games or something daft. And so they say, you're going to take our chance to us or compensate us, or you're taking our opportunity away. And I really can see some teams going to court because they say, look at Derby. Derby could say, look, we're 5 points off the playoffs, but we could make it. And we need the money. And we've got problems. So someone might take that risk of taking them to court and say, you're taking away our opportunity of making the playoffs by curtailing the season. So I can see somebody going to court over this, at least 1 or 2 clubs, if they feel that they, what Wolves are going to say. Wolves are going to say, hang on, you're having Man United who are ahead of us, okay? You're letting them go in this play for the Europa League, and Sheffield United who are behind us. What if they lose that game? Then they'll be behind us. What if they win? Yes, they'll leave. But it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. And Wolves might say, well, we're in 6th spot. Give it us. It's an absolute crazy, crazy, crazy situation. Some people will go to court. They will do. If you stop the season and said, okay, the teams that were in the Champions League last season will be the teams in the Champions League this season, Spurs would say, thank you very much. Leicester would take you to court. Leicester would say, we were going to get 70 million from the Champions League, TV money, match days. And that's without getting through. Yeah. So if they say, you're costing us 70 million, potentially 120 million because we could have won it, who's going to pay us for that? We'll take you to court, Premier League. If you deny us, it's an absolute crazy, crazy, crazy situation. Zidane Bernardo's one of the best, absolutely. I wouldn't keep him on the wing. I want to see him playing middle. I understand that, Aaron, but I think they just want to keep going. It plays like Ibrahimovic, Thiago Silva, Ronaldo still having the legs, and so So that's what But I don't think Aguero. I think we need. I thought we needed to move on. Don't mean sell him, but get ready to let him go. But I'm looking at end of next season anyway. But I think we need to get something. What I don't want to do is let Aguero go, or when his time comes, and not have a replacement who's already here. And when Aguero came, we already had Balotelli. We already had Tevez. Foden, KDB, Bernardo, absolutely, Aaron. Sounds good to me. Rodri is a funny player. Nobody knows where he should. Actually, I think he should play DM, but he's not at the pace yet. I don't think he's at the pace where he needs to be. Really, we had 120 people get 300 pound penalty. That's it. Edward. That's the way it is. There was that guy I told you there's 2 stories. The guy in Taiwan who came back from abroad. This is probably back in March. Self-isolation for 14 years. come from abroad, 14 days. He went out clubbing, got caught, £24,000 fine. Over £24,000 fine. There's a woman in China, an Australian woman, and she was out running. She didn't have a mask on. That's the second time she'd been caught without wearing a mask outdoors. She got deported, apparently. So, people take the risk. They think, oh, no, far too many people think it shouldn't apply to me. It should apply to everybody else, but not to me. It's ridiculous. Adam says Rodri should play in the middle. Yeah, I think that's where obviously he's Pep stuck with him because we've not seen Fernandinho come back to the middle. It's been Rodri or Gundogan. Whenever Rodri has played, he's looked out of place by a few. Look, it's a funny old thing. At the beginning of the season, you go onto something like Blue Moon Forum and other places and other YouTube channels and whatever. When I used to look at other stuff, singing his praises, saying he's the next best thing since sliced bread. And I remember saying, the guy doesn't chase back. I remember talking about this with Mike Long from Bolt from the Blue, and they didn't understand it until they saw it. I said he doesn't bust a gut to get back. He turns his back on a shot. I can't remember the game where he turned and it went in. And he could, if he just stood there, put his face there and got smacked in the face to stop a goal. But he didn't do that. He didn't have that courage. And he was slow in passing the ball around and making decisions as far as I was concerned. He might look silky smooth. He might look great. But these are the issues. And people ignored them. And then, because we were winning games as well, so it didn't matter so much. You can get by. And then once we start not winning games, then people started noticing the problems with Rodri. But they were there all from the start of the season. But just people didn't want to look, And I've always said I'm no great strategist and analyst. But if I can see it, surely other people can see it. New striker, one full season to take the ball. Absolutely, that's what I want, Mark. I want someone to come in. And it might be, if you've got 38 league games, it might be that Aguero plays 28. Gabby plays a few. And a new striker plays 10 or 12, something like that. Yeah, that gets him his introduction to the Premier League. And hey, look, if someone comes in and starts banging the goals in, well, sentiment can take a back seat, and Aguero can be dropped. If you'd got that Haaland kid, if he'd come in and started banging the goals in, no one would have been, would have said, all right, sad that Aguero's not playing, but hey, kids banging goals in left, right, and centre. Positionally right, says Aaron. Yeah, I said many times last season that Fernandinho's still the best DM we've got. Wolves game, he just bottled it. I don't want to look back at that Wolves game, Matt. It was really, both of them were really, really not good. Really, really not good. Whew. Tired now. Right, guys, it's 9:30. My kids have to go to bed. We'll make sure they're asleep because with school again tomorrow, instead of getting like my little lad gets up at midday or 1 o'clock whenever he feels like, he's got to get up at 9 o'clock tomorrow. So he better get to bed. I can see Adam comes to City one day. Absolutely, Adam. It's crazy when you think Borussia Dortmund going for 20 million quid, and he started like a house on fire. Now, if they were going to sell him in the summer, they could ask for 80 or 100 million quid. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But he went there because he knew he was going to play. Absolutely, Aaron. That's right. People overlook. They remember a few games, but usually those games where you got to look. Is it him playing really well, or is it the team playing really well, or is it the opposition playing poorly? When Delph and Zinchenko were playing at left back, and we might be stuffing teams. But it's not because they were brilliant. They might have looked okay because there was no pressure on them because the team was playing well. If you're beating someone 4-5-0, there's not been much pressure on your left back, in all honesty. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for this evening. You guys stay safe. Look after yourselves. We're back tomorrow and we'll talk about something. We'll talk about, I've been waiting to do this for about 10 days. I'll tell you something tomorrow. I do need you off the ground, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So you stay safe, guys, and we will see you tomorrow.